Now, in the book, you talked about, the racism that your parents endured gave them a level of anger and they couldn't take it out on anyone but themselves. How did you see that kind of play out?
Well, in those days, there were men who came back from the army fighting for this country. And when they came back, they did not have equal citizenship. Even though they saw their friends die or get wounded, etc., they could not go into the same restaurants as whites, or ride on the same buses, or have the same access to medical care. So there was an anger about that. And sometimes we took it out on each other. Like the elements of pride were, even though you were impoverished, the hat that you wore or the shoes that you wore or the jewelry that you had on or whatever. Some of that carries over till today. But in those days, if you stepped on a man's shoes and scratched his brand new shoes, you could be stabbed or shot. Because that was what they had to say, this is who I am. And that you destroyed that. Because self-esteem at that time was very low. And we were treated in a way as second-class citizens. And so we had to build our own sense of pride from the things that we could afford.
Well, I guess there was a situation where your dad got into a fight with a police officer.
My father was a very proud man. He took no insult of any kind. And we were riding, coming from getting some food, I think, at that time, and my father made an illegal U-turn, and the cops pulled him over. And he said, well, I'm sorry about that, And they said something to the effect, you should be sorry, nigga. And he said, something to the extent, excuse me, but my family's in the car, so would you please be careful how you speak? And the cop said something to the effect, who cares about you monkeys or coons? Your family's a bunch of monkeys. My father got out of the car and punched the cop in the face, took his gun from him, and the second officer, he also punched. And he took both their guns and got back in the car, and he rode to the police station.
With their guns?
Yes, and told the police chief, my mother went in with him, that what had happened, and that he wasn't trying to hurt anybody, but he would not let anybody insult or disrespect his family. And the major thing that happened that was a shock to my sister and I was that the police chief said, I'm not charging you because I have a family too.
And it was a white police chief?
A white police chief. And that was unheard of, but they respected my father for taking up for his family.
I mean, taking a cop's gun is essentially a death sentence most times, regardless of white, black, Mexican, right. Asian. Right. You take a cop's gun. And even really walking into a police station with a gun, period, is extremely dangerous.
Yes, but, he wasn't pointing at anybody. He was surrendering himself.
Yeah.
Because he thought that they were going to do something to him or put him away. But when he told this story, the police chief said, he apologized to my father and said that no one should insult your family. And that's not what this department's about. And so that's what happened.
Did you run into those cops ever again?
I never saw them again.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they were there.